Liberate IT is an Oracle NetSuite solution provider that has been servicing Australian and New Zealand companies since 2011.
Okay, so with us today, my name's Steve Paea, I'm the sales manager at Liberate IT, and with me, Paul Beattie, general manager. So in the room today, you have the two people that have been with Liberate IT since day one, with Paul and I being with the company since it first started. So yeah, we're quite excited to talk you through and showcase NetSuite. So the agenda is, everyone, I'm going to take you through just a bit of an overview about Liberate IT for those that are not aware of the company itself. Also, I'm going to give you background about NetSuite, how it all started, its high level in terms of what functionality. Then I'll hand it over to Paul, who will take you through demonstration. I encourage you to send through any questions throughout the presentation. We will pause during that time, and also as we wrap up as well, if there's any Q&A at the end. And then we should all be finished within the hour. So a bit about Liberate IT. So yeah, we've been around since 2011, Paul and I. We have over 120 plus customers across Australia and New Zealand, from small startup, high growth companies with an employee size of 5 to 10 employees to our largest customer, which has 5,000 employees. Liberate IT, we're dedicated to NetSuite. That's all we do. We sell, we implement, we support, and we do training on NetSuite. So that is our bread and butter. And it's good to know that working with Liberate IT as being a NetSuite partner, that's all we're focused on doing NetSuite and doing it well. We awarded the 5-star award from NetSuite in 2021. And so basically that's the highest accolade that a NetSuite partner achieves during that period. I think the key thing to note here as well, everyone, is that we were awarded the Partner of the Year in 2021. So we're excited about that award, and it's reflective of Liberate IT and our customers. So we're excited to be awarded the JPAC Excellence in Customer Service. So that reflects on Liberate IT and how we look after our customers, and ensuring that we take customers on that journey when they're moving from one system to the other. But it's also that ongoing support, because businesses change, businesses evolve, and for us, it's about maintaining excellence in customer services with our customers and their journey with NetSuite. So for those trying to understand where NetSuite fits in the market, so if you look at the current ERP market, we have small businesses such as that are using your smaller accounting system like your Xero and your MYOB, or the Sage products, or the QuickBooks. And then you look at the mid-market space, which traditionally is sort of the MYOB Advanced, Exanet, Greentree, Pronto, and some of those Microsoft products, Navision. And then you've got the tier one products such as the big Oracle or Technology One or SAP. The beauty about NetSuite, it doesn't play in those particular markets. It sort of scales across all three. So as I mentioned before, we worked with companies that have outgrown Xero, and then they need to move up. They're just some high growth, and by right too, when you're looking at a startup company, that's where you look at some of the smaller systems like your Xeros or your MYOBs of the world. But then you quickly outgrow it. When you start to find out you're running multiple applications, then you have to integrate them all, from a CRM to an inventory to a professional services automation tool to a raft of tools, or your payroll and HR. Then those are sort of indications that clients say, look, we need to move up to a mid-market system. Or other companies that are usually in the old sort of traditional on-premise or server-based applications, and they're looking at going through digital transformation and looking at putting their business into the cloud. And then we've got clients that have that have used SAP, and some recognize how expensive SAP is, and they sort of thought, look, let's move down to that mid-market where NetSuite sort of plays. So we've got clients that have done that as well as part of their digital transformation. So really wanted to highlight is when you invest in NetSuite, it does grow with you. You'll never get to a stage where you outgrow NetSuite. So and that's the scalability with how NetSuite operates. So NetSuite is it's 100% cloud. It's all browser based. It's one unified system. And the great thing about NetSuite being modular based, we work with so many different industries, which I'll cover off in future slides, but it's really one unified system that allows different departments within organizations to have NetSuite and use NetSuite specific to their roles. But then also NetSuite extends out to your customers as well as vendors as well. So to give you an example, customers, your customers can also have their own specific portal to log into NetSuite to get copies of the invoices, to get quotes, to check their order history. So not only NetSuite, with having that one unified system across multiple departments within your organization, but then it also extends out to your customers, your vendors, and partners. So if you look across there in terms of what NetSuite's functionality, so it does your sales, it does your quotes, it does marketing, it does case management, customer services, financials, multi-subsidiary, asset management, procurement, manufacturing, and supply chain. So a bit about NetSuite. NetSuite's been around since 1998. So, the beauty about NetSuite is it was built in the cloud from day one. So you sort of recently, over the last few years, you've seen a lot of organizations that were built on an on-premise or server-based, and they're starting to create their cloud offering as well. But the beauty about NetSuite has been around since 1998. So, that's 20 odd years of being in front and being innovative as compared to some of the other applications out there in the market today. So when you're looking at NetSuite's history and being built in the cloud, so there's so much work that's gone into the developments, the R&D, the enhancements, and the upgradability. So from a functionality point of view, that's what makes it the #1 cloud ERP. NetSuite was acquired from Oracle in 2016. So what that means is having the acquisition by Oracle is really having that infrastructure from being a cloud-based system and having something as powerful as Oracle behind it to help support and grow. So if you think about, as an example, in the cloud environment in terms of data centers, NetSuite data centers are in Sydney and Melbourne. So really having something like Oracle behind it just provides an extra power, extra support from an infrastructure and growth point of view. There are over, so this part should be updated. It's actually 29,000 organizations that use NetSuite globally. There are about 1,500, 2,000 in Australia that use NetSuite, and about 500 in New Zealand. As mentioned, there's data centers in Melbourne and Sydney. So for those clients that are looking at understanding where NetSuite's data centers are hosted, they're hosted there. As mentioned, it is the #1 cloud ERP. So industries, and the beauty about NetSuite is being modular based. It allows for different industries to be able to have specific areas within their business to take advantage of NetSuite as it being modular, which we'll cover off. But these are the industries that NetSuite covers. So we've got clients in manufacturing, wholesale distribution, services, media publishing, software, food and beverage, transport logistics, financial services, non-for-profit, and retail. And then we look at the NetSuite features. So this is what I talk about NetSuite being modular based. So it's really understanding the organizations that we work with, understanding what they're using currently, what their pain points are, what their growth plans are, and industry as well. So in terms of NetSuite's features, just at a high level, NetSuite has professional services. It does your finance and accounting, has a CRM built into NetSuite, does your inventory management, revenue recognition, sales order management, purchase order management, case management, fixed assets, manufacturing, wholesale distribution, and global accounting consolidation. So it's really understanding what modules that you require from NetSuite. But just to think, NetSuite is built around a finance and accounting system, and then it extends out in terms of its offering through its modules specific to industries and businesses that we work with. So for those, we've got a few prospective customers that have joined us today in today's webinar, but also we've got newly acquired business partners or customers that have just recently signed up to NetSuite, as well as some existing users of NetSuite that have joined us today's webinars. But when we're implementing NetSuite with our customers, a lot of it is through a shared implementation, or sort of a collaborative approach with working with our customers. Really, the key thing for us is really trying to work with yourselves that are just starting on this NetSuite journey. But also, really, what we're trying to do is trying to encourage that own NetSuite champion, as we call it, with the new customers that have just signed up. Working with Liberate I.T, we've got experienced consultants as well that have worked in various industries. And a lot of our consultants as well have actually have been in your shoes, have implemented NetSuite, really liked implementing NetSuite, and they wanted to do as a full-time job. So we've got consultants that are industry experienced, but also we've got consultants that are qualified accountants as well. At the end of the day, NetSuite is built around a general ledger, AR, AP, and it's important to know, working with our consultants that are qualified accountants, but also it's really applying NetSuite best practice as well. For us, it's trying to think about how do we improve efficiencies within your organizations, how do we streamline those business processes, and sort of removing from what your current pain points that you have with your with the older system, and really applying that NetSuite best practice. So any new clients that are looking at NetSuite is something that we encourage right from the get-go, is to think about having somebody internal to be that NetSuite champion or that power user. This is our process for clients that are signed up to NetSuite and Liberate I.T. So if we look at that sort of process flow there, as soon as you sign up, we start workshops, and that's sort of a day or so of coming on site or remote. The beauty about NetSuite being cloud allows us to be on site or work remotely with clients. So we start off with workshops, and then we talk about your NetSuite champion. We go straight into the configuration initial process. So the key thing about NetSuite being cloud-based, that not only that it is a quicker deployment when you're looking at NetSuite compared to others, but also a lot of the roles and setup is pre-configured. So that's a good thing in terms of deployment. Because we find that a lot of our clients have similar processes. If you think about business processes, about sort of that 50 to 70% that NetSuite's already had pre-configured. It's the rest of the remaining around your businesses and how we work with you specific to your business processes. So we talk about getting the configuration initial process. We talk about master data moving from your old system to NetSuite, and then we uncover any integrations. For example, you want to integrate to your websites, you want to integrate to another third-party system. Are there any gaps? Are there any customizations? Then we just keep refining those processes. So sort of a lot of back and forth between NetSuite, our consulting team, and your product team. It's just lots of testing, lots of process testing, a lot of user acceptance testing and training with your team. And then we have the go live preparation and go live. And once you go live, then we start to transition to our accounts relationship team, and it's around the account management and ongoing support. So typically, if we look at clients that are just looking at NetSuite finance and accounting only, just a small growing business that have outgrown Xero, they need to move up to something like NetSuite. You're probably looking at a 3 to 4 sort of timeline. Typical wholesale distribution sort of business in that 4 to 6 month time frame from workshops to go live. Then if we're looking at manufacturing, big manufacturing organizations with multiple plants, then you'll be looking at sort of a 12 to 18 month project timeline. So, I'm more than happy to have discussions for those that want to know more and understand about what that looks like. So I'm more than happy to have that chat at a later date. These are some of our customers across Australia and New Zealand. So again, the thing about NetSuite is we don't work with any specific industries. So if you look at some of the companies on here, we've got software companies, we've got wholesale distribution companies, we've got manufacturing, we've got retail, we've got professional services, we've got non-for-profits, we've got education. So it's really for us understanding and working with businesses that are looking at NetSuite. And as I touched earlier, it's all modular based. So for example, companies like Xero use NetSuite for their accounting system back in 2012. So it's good to know companies reputable like Xero use NetSuite. We sold it back to them in 2012. So we're quite excited to have a reputable brand like Xero for their 500,000 customers that they run NetSuite. And they got to a stage where Xero outgrew Xero and they moved up to NetSuite. So we're all quite excited by that. So we've got a lot of really good companies that we've worked with over the years implementing NetSuite. So on that note, I'll hand the microphone over to Paul. As mentioned, please, if you have any questions, please send them through in the chat, and I will hand it over to you, Paul.
Thank you, Steve. Can you hear me okay?
We can, Paul. Yep. I'll turn my video off and mute myself.
Okay, Steve, can you just confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, Paul, I can see your dashboard.
Wonderful. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us in this introduction to NetSuite webinar. As Steve mentioned, we've been doing this for a long time, and we're still really excited about working with NetSuite, and we haven't found a customer yet that we can't get to operate on NetSuite and make them much more efficient. The objective today is an introduction to the dashboards of NetSuite, the visualization, some of the philosophy behind how NetSuite should be set up, and then I'll run through a very simple use case scenario for a warehouse distribution where we've got a quote. They want to turn that automatically into a sales order. Some of the goods are out of stock. We need to get those goods into stock so that we can then ship the items out and fulfill them. So starting off, what you're looking at is a NetSuite screen. This is live. This is working to the servers that Steve was talking about in Melbourne and Australia. When we first started this, I ran on a very slow broadband. We are a complete remote-based company, so everyone has home offices, and I was on 6 megabits per second. Now, very happily, up over 100 megabits per second. So looking at here is a dashboard. This dashboard is for a role called the CFO. NetSuite is all based around roles in which then talk to the permissions. What can a CFO do as opposed to an inventory person, as opposed to a salesperson? Now, if I go to my right here, you'll see I've got in this demonstration system a lot of roles. Usually everyone will just have one role, and it's the role of what they do each day of the company. So if I go down and if I'm the salesperson, all I'll see is a role called sales. If I click on the sales role, I'm going to see a very different dashboard. I'm not going to see financial information anymore so much. I'm going to see things like opportunities to close, leads and prospects, customers to renew, because this company's running contracts. So we need to know when we need to renew. We'll get an alert a month out, perhaps, or 2 months out. It's up to you. That might be an email alert, or preferably, because you can get so many email alerts, you get bogged down. I prefer that you make everyone come into the dashboard and look at their reminders on the left here. I've got 23 customers to call. Down here in the key performance indicators, I've got leads and opportunities. Even up the top here, you'll see the menus are talking about opportunities, forecasts, customers. It's all centered around what that person needs to do for their job and putting that information in front of them. If I go to a different role now, and maybe I'll go to the purchasing manager. As I said, usually these would just, I'd only see one role. So on this role, you will see that we're talking about receiving and inventory and shipping. We've got some purchase orders here to approve. We've got some purchase requests, because we have a purchase requisition system as well as a purchase approval system. We've got some demand plans. We've got orders that are fulfilled down the left here, 10 orders to ship, 9 orders to pack. We're starting to see the metrics of the warehouse and distribution side of this company. So I've shown 2 roles here, lots of graphs and lots of information. They can get quite busy roles. And sometimes I think, well, maybe we should just have a quieter role, depending on who we're talking to. So if I go down to the warehouse manager here, and I'm more sort of designing this thinking around, well, not much warehouse manager, but if an 18-year-old turns up and all they're there to do is to fulfill orders, you don't want to show them, well, 1, it's confidential information, but 2, it's just a lot of information. So the idea is that you then quieten that role right down. In fact, I could even remove all of these and just have one button that says fulfill orders. They click on that and they go to the orders that need to be fulfilled. Of course, if you have a barcode scanning system with NetSuite, they'll just go to the mobile device and they'll see what the next order is to pick and go and scan the items, or what the next order is to put away. So I've come in here to this warehouse role and I've clicked on one button. It's a nice quiet role and I need to do some fulfilling. Now, this list is one of the things I talk about a lot and the consultants talk about a lot when we talk about data and how data should be placed in front of people. And what we try to get people to think about is the data should be placed in such a way that it informs what they are to do next. Now, I go into a lot of warehouses and I see a lot of paper running up and down stairs and a lot of picking slips that are printed off, maybe even upstairs, and then they're sorted into the order that they need to be. Well, of course, if I click onto any of these, I'm going to produce a picking slip for this. And then I have customers that say, yeah, we need to sort these out because, look, we're in Auckland and by 2 o'clock, we've got to get all the south orders packed, ready for the courier to come in. So my suggestion is, well, what we do is put a little location marker on the customer record that then pulls the sales order. And when there's a fulfillment to be made, they are at the top of this list. If a new order is placed right now, they would be placed at the top of this list above the Auckland orders. Or perhaps, Progressive is a very important customer of yours. So all the Progressive orders get marked as gold and they always slip up the top here on the list. Or someone phones up and they're really, really angry, and instead of someone taking a phone call and running down because something was missed, you create a new order for it, tick a little box on the sales order, and it comes to the top of this list. What our ultimate goal is to stop people running up and down stairs with bits of paper, yelling at people that something has to happen. The person just comes back to the screen, clicks the next order. It wasn't there 2 seconds ago. They don't know. They don't care. They just know that that's the order that they need to pick for whatever reason that the process that has been designed. Now, I know I labored on that point a little bit, but that thinking informs everything in NetSuite. What are you doing on bits of paper, on emails, on phone calls, on running up and down stairs that could be done by simply doing a little bit of thinking of process in NetSuite to put in front of the people the information they need. So I'm going to now go to back to the role I actually started in, which is a CFO role. And we're going to look around the CFO role. So the first thing I want to talk about are key performance indicators, KPIs. That's the first port that you see. It's front and center. Everyone talks about KPIs. In the end, a KPI, a key performance indicator, is nothing more than a summarized set of data. And that data comes from granular transactions or records. All of it can sit on NetSuite. So as far as what KPIs can NetSuite put in front of people, well, the sky's the limit. As long as that granular data is there somewhere in the system, we can show it up in a summarized report. Now, everything in blue here is you can drill down on. So when NetSuite was created way back in 1998, and certainly I was selling very old Sage products at the time on premise, all worried about year 2K, they were thinking, let's license accounting software and ERP software, and let's not have these dashboards that you just scraped over top of old DOS systems. Let's make that how you interact with NetSuite. Let's try not to go through big menu structures, because that's really hard to get people to remember. Let's just put the information in front of them. So they were the first to actually have dashboards that you could click through to, that dashboards were the core of how you interacted with the system. So if I go down to the receivables here and I click on this number here, I'm now going to run the report that's informing that KPI. And you'll see I've got an age summary there, and I'm looking down and I see that Hanson Tires here is 273. They had a total balance of 377. I'm going to click down and have a little look at this. Now I can see the transactions that make up Hanson's one, and there's a big one here for 223. Well, I'm going to click down and get to the granular detail of this transaction, i.e. the invoice. 3 clicks, and I'm starting to be curious, and I want to have a look around this. So what can I see on an invoice? So I can see there's a whole lot of items that were sold. I can go and have a look at the inventory detail. Maybe there are serialized numbers, and I can see that there was two, or maybe they were lot numbers, maybe they were quality control that informed that item going out. Maybe I want to go and have a look at an item. So if I right-click, I can open this up in a new tab or a new window. And that's really important for everybody to understand that everyone that uses NetSuite should have multiple monitors, because I can now go and have a look at that inventory item. And I can see various things. I can see what its units of measure is. I can go down and see what its pricing is in multiple currencies. I can go and look at the purchasing and inventory. I can look at, do we need to match bill to receipt? Is it a dropship item? Is every time someone orders this, we'll automatically make a dropship purchase order linked to it? Someone doesn't have to go in and push a button. It just automatically happens. Are we going to talk about automatic reorder points down here, where NetSuite will try to work out a very simple demand plan? It also has a very complicated demand plan, I might add as well, but preferred stock levels. Okay, that high dev min max, that tends to go away, and we try to automate the reorder points based on lead times and stock levels, safety stock, that type of thing. But of course, I can go down here. I can see in my locations, how many of these items do I have? Now, this is sort of an old way of doing things. As I've showed you two tabs and we've gone and had a look through them. What we prefer to do is this item 360 and just put everything that you need to see in one place. So if I have a look here, I can see what my sales and margin is for this item. I've got 11 on hand. Well, I went to somewhere else to see that, but now it's all summarized in one screen. I've got none on a sales order, but one on a purchase order coming in. And here's my sales history for the last 3 months. Here's my average cost, and here's my average margin. Now, of course, if you don't want people to see that, well, that's just a matter of making a form that doesn't have this item on it. So when they log in, when they see the inventory form, that item 360 doesn't exist. It's up to you how you want to design the system. Very simple to do, but it's why we say you should have a NetSuite champion we can train, because otherwise you have to come to us, Liberate, to do all of this. And, look, we're happy to do the work, but quite frankly, if you can really own your system, take control of it, doing simple things like, hey, let's create a new form that Bob and Mary see while everyone else sees the item 360 tab. That's money you don't need to spend with partners like Liberate, because you can do it yourself. Really move your system on. I can go in and see things like historical sales items. I don't need to run a report to see this. I can see last transaction date, how many committed quantities, and what the sales were. Oh, I want to see when the open purchase orders are, what's happening with those. So it might be a stock issue. So I want to go in and see the open purchase orders. I don't want to have to trawl down through heaps and heaps of transactions looking for this. Just show me the open ones. That's what I want to see. And it's talking about putting the information that is vital rather than overloading people. And the monthly item quantities sold on sales orders. 3 months ago, 7. So we've got a lot of information in there. I'm going to go back now to the invoice. What else can I go to here? Well, I can go, this is blue. I can go and look at the customer records. I'm going to open that in a new tab or new window. And I can see in the customer record here, various things. I can look at their classification, how many employees they have. I can see they're in customer pricing group A. Warehouse location is based in Geraldine. So again, these forms, what you want to see is completely up to yourself. You can not have the classification. You can have a brand new little classification there called something completely different. I've got customers that have show the average margin for customers on their front screen. But again, look here, I've got my long list of sales and estimates and return authorizations that this customer has. And yes, I can do various views just to see, show me the sales orders, show me the return authorizations. But this customer 360, it sits on the customer as well. What else can I look at by looking at long lists? Well, I can see who the sales team is. I can go look at opportunities. That this customer says 2 opportunities out. One we closed lost, one's at proposal stage with an expected close of today. Might come back and have a look at that. What items has this customer purchased? And more to the point, when was the last purchase date? What say we do a EDM, a marketing campaign based on certain items across all our customers that their warranty period's running out of? Let's email them and ask them for extended warranty, or would they like to buy again, or they need servicing. So let's email them, or let's place a list by geographic location on the dashboard of each BDM in there that they own those customers, and get them to phone them. There is a multitude of really important vital data sitting in your accounting systems, maybe in your CRM system, which is separate, your case management system, which is separate, which all comes together in NetSuite and then can be pulled out and used. And of course, things like qualification. In this qualification tab, well, we use a BANT system. You'll use some other qualification system. You can put any of these fields in yourself. It takes about 10 seconds to create a brand new field in NetSuite. Again, why we try to get the NetSuite champions involved in things like that. But if we go to Customer 360, like I said, we just get to see, well, number of orders, number of fulfillments, number of invoices, their last year's sales, year-to-date sales, invoice value, all stuff that's actually glance, a BDM or the general manager going in to see a customer. They just need to look at this. They can get a snapshot of the customer, open sales orders. What are the top sold items? What are not the top sold items? What's going down? Let's have a look at these things. What's their 12-month sales? Why they stopped buying 7 months ago and now they're maybe a new customer? I don't know. And something that some customers love is the returns. What are the items that this customer keeps returning? Why? Do we not sell them anymore, or is there a courier problem with this customer with this item going to this location? Again, that data is all sitting there. I'm now going to go back to the invoice. Where else can I go into this invoice? Well, I can go back to the original sales order that it came from, because everything in NetSuite is linked. I'm just going to drill through here. I'm not going to create a new tab. I'm going to drill through, and I can see the sales order. And I can see the sales orders completed, pack, fulfilled, invoice. Nothing's on back order. So it is sitting at a status of build. I can go to related records, and I can see there's item fulfillment and an invoice. There went 2 item fulfillments. There wasn't any returns yet. It's just item fulfillment invoice. A wealth of data, but I started way back up at the dashboard, which I might go to again. And I do that by just clicking that home button here, because that's what we all think of home screen. So a little icon there, make it easy to train people. I'm just going to close those 2 tabs. And I'm back home. I'm back to where I come in every day to start analyzing things. Now, if I want to put a new KPI on, that's very simple to do. Again, it's a permissions-based thing. You've got to have the permissions to do it. But NetSuite comes with about 200 standard KPIs. So you might want to know things, not money-wise, but how many employees are there at the moment. I want to know what the new opportunities are. I'm the CFO, and I do have an interest in what the opportunities are and what's happening. But equally, I can see maybe I want to see profit. Done. The magic, though, is these custom KPIs. I can go in here and do a search on a custom report I've created or custom query, and I'm going to use this invoices greater than 30 days, greater than 50 days. And I'm going to include that. So now I've put 4 new items on my KPIs. I'm going to move this one up just above employees. And I can then mark, do I want to have it on my headline? Do I want to compare it with things? But I'm not. I'm just going to save it. And you'll see very quickly I've got 4 new KPIs. And I'm going to drill down into this bespoke one, the one that your NetSuite champion or maybe you created. Age debt was getting a little high. So 6 months in, I wasn't getting a lot of visibility of that. I get my age debt report, but it was just 2,000 lines long, and I had to filter things. Well, perhaps, let's say we move in front of that a little bit and just show me the invoices that don't have to be outstanding, that are greater than 30 days and greater than 50K. They're the ones I want to focus on. And I call that management by exception. You don't need to see everything, just what are the ones I should be worried about. And just so I get into my head, into my cash flow, get the credit controller thinking about this, even give them a proactive phone call just to make sure and nudge them along, rather than waiting for it to turn up in the official credit control report. I'm going to go in and show you how I created this search. So we call them saved searches, but in other worlds, they might be called queries. Stuff about bringing data back to the screen rather than a nice, pretty report format, which we do for other things. It's about the grunt data, bringing data back and exporting it out to Excel, and then further manipulation if you want to out there. But to create it was really simple. First of all, what type of transaction did I want? And of course, I could have chosen any of all the transaction types. That's it in NetSuite. I chose invoice. How many days overdue? Well, again, I'm just clicking here, it brings up this box, and I can have it, greater than 30 days, between, empty, not equal to. I've chosen 30, I could have chosen 60, could have chosen 25. You could have two reports. I could save another one that says invoices greater than 10 days, greater than $100,000. These are the ones I'm really worried about. And what's the amount? So again, I can just choose that amount, and I can choose what it is. So very simple to create all of that. And it's an open invoice. What are the results I want? Well, again, you're just choosing what fields do I want to have in here. And there's mobile numbers in there, but of course I've got mobile number field, so I could add the mobile number in there if I so desired. Now, the quite neat thing you can do with this is automatically have it run itself and email out to a set load of people, to an audience. And you can say, I want it to certain people, and at 9 o'clock every Monday morning, I want this report to be created and sent email to these people. I mean, I've got customers that do that where they don't need to have a login for certain, mostly director type people, because they just get the emails that they need to feel comfortable with the business. Now, if I want to personalize the dashboard, if I want to add a new KPI meter, it's just a matter of clicking. Again, this is all permissions based. And if I go to trim graphs here, I want to put a new graph in. Again, it's just setting up in NetSuite. So NetSuite comes with a whole lot of graphs already pre-populated. You see how easy this is. This isn't rocket science to create all this. The magic of these custom ones, of course, there's 10 custom ones, so you create a custom search and put it up there. The average days to pay, easy one. Save that, and I use this, and I put in my board report. I can just print it out as a PNG or JPEG image. But, and I want it sitting over here because, and now it's sitting down here. So I can move things around, this KPI meter here, I want that over on this side. You can have your dashboard as you like. Certain people will have their dashboard set in stone, usually salespeople and people and warehouse staff. But other people, and probably the people on this call, they can move their dashboards and bring any information back that they have the permissions to bring back. And to remove items, I just do this. One thing I will say though, things like monthly average days to pay on your home dashboard when it's all about KPIs and reminders isn't the most sensible thing. Where I put things like this is in my financial tab. Because all of these tabs are dashboards in their own right. And I can see my financials information. Or I can go to vendors and I can see KPIs for vendors and KPI vendor performance for customers. The whole works. They're all dashboards that you can put information on, visualize, print out, do what you want with. Now over here, reminders, very important tab. As I said before, that's if I've got a purchase to approve or a bill to approve at Liberate, that's where I look. If Steve takes you out for lunch, he's going to use the NetSuite app to take a photo of that expense, put in some information, lodge it, and that will immediately upload to NetSuite, and I'll get an alert on my dashboard that I've got one expense report to approve. This is all to standard in NetSuite. I click in here and I could be anywhere. I could be in any city in the world, and I see, Steve's taking someone out for lunch. And he's got some dues and subscriptions that I'm refunding him for, and he took lunch van, and I can go and have a look. And he went to Feelings in Brisbane. I can go have a look at that receipt. He's signed that receipt out now because it's sitting in NetSuite, and I can approve that. And as soon as I approve it, it goes to my financial controller, Liberate's financial controller, your financial controller, wherever they are, and we have a remote setup in Liberate. So Vicky's working from her home office. She just sees, Paul's approved, or whatever the DFA, whoever the supervisor has approved that expense, I now can pay it. And it just goes into the normal payment run for paying expenses, which is automated. There's it sitting in NetSuite, of course. Okay, the last thing I really wanted to show before I went and did a transaction was the global search. This is how people tend to get around NetSuite. So, for example, I'm up the top here. If I type in AUS, I'm getting everything to do with Australia: vendors, customers, contacts, opportunities. If I just want to see customers, I type CU : and I'll just see the two Australia customers that have Australia somewhere in their name. And it doesn't have to be their name. It can be, there's searchable fields that are indicated in the record as well. So it could be the address or the country code, something like that. This is how people interact. So before I was at Hanson's, so let's go and have a look at Hanson's. And I can see there's customers, contacts, opportunities here for Hanson. So I just want to get into the customer. Click that. And I will be in the customer. So if someone phones up, you can immediately get into the record and the customer 360. I am now back to exactly where I was before. I've just gone in a different way. And that's the magic of NetSuite. Lots of ways to get to the place that you need to do as soon as possible. In the same way, I was in an inventory item before. I'm over here in my reminders, my recent records or my history, and this Dow Ultra Sharp. So if I type in, say, Ultra Sharp, I spelt Ultra Sharp correctly, I'm going to get all the things here. So it's an item for, let's do IT, and I just get my two inventory items that are Ultra Sharp. I click into that one, because I know it's that one, and I'm back to where I was before. Item 360 there, and I can see the information. Now, of course, some of my customers, our customers, they just know the code. So they're just typing in codes all day long. It's a UP3212. 3212, sorry. And, okay, didn't work. I've got the wrong note, 3216. My apologies, everybody. Try that one. So I'm not that clever as you guys are. 3216, Q, click on that. So they know the code. So two ways to do it. Hey, I did it in English, and I did it in this horrendous code, which even I got wrong. But I got there in the end. Global search, really important. That invoice, for example, someone rings up and say, I've got a problem with that invoice. Was it here? It is here, invoice 752. If I type in, you know, INV 752, I'll get to that invoice. And that's the invoice I was drilling down to before. I've got a problem with it. But the thing is, remember that, you know, people deal with people, and this is a CRM system as well. So we know the names of the people in here. So why don't we type in who's on the call? Hi, it's Emily here. Emily with Hanson's. Yeah, how are you, Emily? Click on Emily's contact record, and I can come through here and see all about Emily, and then I can go through, oh, wrong Emily, sorry. Oh, no, right, Emily. And then once I'm there, I can click through to Hanson's Tire Services. And if I go down to the relationships here, you'll see that I've got two contacts here. One's Emily and one's Greg. The other side is down here. I've got all my communications with Hanson's. I've been doing a demonstration of new range. I've got a follow-up, a purchase decision. Why is that? We sent a quote to them recently. Or they owe some money, so the Frank's been on to them to try to get some money out. With Greg has phoned to say there's a tender issue. So everyone is starting to put information into the same place in NetSuite, so we can all see what's happening. There's money owing, credit controllers after them. There's a tender issue coming up. We should have a chat to them about getting that money before we start doing more tender stuff. But also they want to see the new range. So that's just a standard thing out to all the customers. We're going to demonstrate the new range. So we're setting up meetings with them. We can see all the emails that have gone out and things like, oh, we sent a quote to them not so long ago. we can go and click on that quote and go and have a look at it because it's an attachment in the email that went out from NetSuite. There's the quote, there's the PDF of the quote. When they reply back, it's going to go to your Outlook or to your Gmail, but a copy of it will also come and sit in NetSuite. So you've got a complete record of that thread. And it hooks into Outlook as well, of course. And we can see inquiries and we can see things that have been fulfilled. Your order has been fulfilled. There's a return authorization here. Everything is checked and date stamped and time stamped. We know everything that's happened with this customer and we've got proof here. We've got files on here, of course. You know, contract for supply of technical equipment. We've got the contract there. So again, these important documents. Other documents and Liberate, you know, we use SharePoint and all the working documents sit on SharePoint, but the signed document, the signed agreement always sits on the NetSuite record. Okay, let's go and look at transaction now. So while I'm in Hanson, I'm going to stay in Hanson. I'm going to go to the sales area and I'm going to look at these opportunities. And as I said, we missed one not so long ago, but there's IT items here that is ready to go. Let's have a look at this opportunity. Now, once there's an opportunity, the idea of an opportunity is there's two ways to get, you know, sort of prospect or sales to existing customers organized in NetSuite. And the idea is if it's a tender or an RFP and it's a long process, months in the making, and the proposal might only go out halfway through, you create an opportunity. You still put in what you think they'll buy, either listing down the items or just putting in an amount. And that informs a pipeline report that says, yeah, the expected close date is 6 months from here, but we're working on it now. And we've got lots of relationships. We're understanding the relationships of who this is. We're doing communication, messages and activities and things like that need to happen around this opportunity. It's not a quote yet. It's just an opportunity that the salespeople need to focus on. You need to, on a Monday morning, bring up in the pipeline report on NetSuite and discuss how that opportunity is moving through. And you'll have certain stages for your opportunities that you can set yourself so you can see what status they are. And might be a technical site visit and you've only got one technician and you've got 10 opportunities sitting at technical site visit, where the management can go, we've got a problem here. We've got all these opportunities blocked up. First of all, which are the priority? And secondly, we need another technical sales rep or consultant to go out and spec up this job. And you'll see here I'm at 50% probability. So again, you set what the probability ratings are at certain stages through the statuses of this opportunity. And what happens is that it takes a projected total and divides it by 50%. Now, if you're at opportunity identified, say, and it might be 10%, well, that's only going to be $759 that goes to the forecast. And of course, you've got the qualifications here. What's my time frame to buy? Now, I've already done an estimate for this customer because I pushed the button, created an estimate, and then that estimate now sits on there. They phoned up and said, yeah, we're ready for the estimate, ready for the proposal, and we have an estimate on the system. What I did was I emailed it out. So I've got I know that at 8:31, probably had to be there by 9 o'clock on the 24th, at 8:31, this was sent. I've got proof of that. It says here it's date and time stamped. I can go look at the quote that was sent. And of course, that doesn't have to be a quote out of NetSuite. Liberate don't do that because we have 40-page quotes when we're proposing NetSuite, but it'll be a PDF that we've uploaded and then sent from NetSuite, so that we've got the record on the date and time stamp, and it's not on Steve's email address server. It's sitting on our CRM system, so everyone can see this. Steve going on holiday next week, I can still go in. One of the other BDMs can go in, or sales managers go in and look at that sales, and we can move that on if someone phones up. So I've got an estimate here for these items. And there's a DAO and there's some other technical stuff here all ready to go. If they phone up and said, right, we are ready to create a sales order, Sorry, I've just in the wrong area. One moment. So here's the thing. I'm in an area called the CFO, and what I forgot to do was move into an area where I'm allowed to turn an estimate into a sales order. But you don't want everyone to be able to do that. So just one moment while I just go find my friend Hanson. And you'll see I'll be able to turn this quote into a sales order. Of course, if I'd been clever, I would have taken the opportunity number and just gone straight through to that. So if I want to turn, oops, I need to get into the estimate. And I have a button here where I can turn this into a sales order. So automatically, this quote isn't coming from a CRM system where you're going to have to keep and duplicate all those prices. It is coming from NetSuite. And if I click on this button, and you see in my other role, I didn't have permissions to turn it into a sales order. But in this role, I do. I click sales order. It's immediately going to create a sales order. It's going to close that quote off as one, and then it's going to create a sales order here. A few things I need to do as part of this, which is, first of all, it's telling me I'm out of stock of some of the items. Thank you, I knew that. And I need to put in a location, I need to put in a PO number, and I can save that now. Something I talk about a lot is that people say you don't want BDM sending quotes into sales orders. I say no, let them turn them into sales orders, even if they're prospective customers, and just have a tick box on to say, well, it can't go any further down to the warehouse to be dispatched because perhaps there's a tick box that says credit control hasn't been completed in. And if that's the case, that creates an alert on your credit controller, your accountant's dashboard to say this quote, now sales order is frozen until the documentation is done. After 5 days, and if it hasn't moved on, maybe the BDM will get an alert to say this order is locked. They can go in and look at the email trail, see the credit controller's done their job, but the customer, the new customer, hasn't responded with a signature and the documentation, can phone up and say, look, mate, you're not going to get these goods until you sign these documents. So you need to get them signed. This is not an us problem. This is a you problem. But I'm being proactive here. I'm trying to help. Can you please sign them, get them back to credit controller? They can tick the box and we can release the goods. The idea is not to have a BDM always chasing. They just chase if nothing happens after the automatic process falls over. They get alerted so they can jump onto that. Now you notice here, I've got everything on back order here, but I was sure that I had some goods here. So I'm going to just have a look at the item here and go through my inventory. And I can see I've got some items here, so I should be able to purchase it. And I see, I've got a location on the line item because I have this thing called not location at the header level, I have location at row level. And there's a choice that you can make, which means that you can fulfill your orders from various places around the country, around the region. So I'm going to say this is to come from the Christchurch location of this item. Everything else is maybe to come from somewhere else. If I save that, you'll notice that the back ordered item is no longer back ordered. That's saved. The back ordered is no longer back ordered. It is available and ready to go. It has been committed in NetSuite's terminology, which means I can now fulfill it. Everything else is still back ordered because I haven't said where it's coming from. It might come from Perth, it might come from somewhere else. But I could see that Christchurch had 2 items. So I've chosen, they'll get an alert in that screen I showed before at the warehouse. So I'm just going to alert and say, I've got 2 items to dispatch here. They don't care there's 20 other items on that sales order. They just see there's 2 to dispatch. I must dispatch it now. Nice, easy, automated, no emails, no phone calls. Someone just saw there was stock in Christchurch. Let's send it. So let's just fulfill this one item that I can fulfill because the customer said, get them to me as fast as possible. But during this process, I went into my quality control and realized, and this doesn't show this, by the way, it perhaps shows that only 1 item is good past quality control or whatever else, I can only send one item out. So I'm going to push save on that. And it want me to change this in here. Okay, I get my tick box and inventory detail. I can go put information in on packages. What is the serial number? Now look, we hook up to all the courier and freight companies, so this should be automated. The labels should all come out automatically, but if not, you can manually put it in. I can save that. And choose that it's now at pack stage and save, and I've got an item fulfillment. That's at pack stage. I can then, as soon as it's packed, mark it shipped. That one item is now in the process. But there was a problem. As you see here, we've got now on back order, we've got one packed, but it's still got one that needs to go. And with the items down there can't be sent out. There's something wrong with them. So what say we come over and we do a special order to get that one item in. We're going to air freight it. This is a really important customer. Up in customer service or procurement, they've seen this, it's been alerted to them. And they've said, heck, we need to buy one in and air freight it into Christchurch so it can be shipped out. We may even drop ship it straight to the customer. Up to you. You can drop ship it straight to the customer, or it might be a item in. And I'm going to save that purchase order. I've now got a linked purchase. I've got these two items to go out. One has been in stock and I've just shipped it out. And one item, I now have a linked purchase order. If I click along here, I can go create purchase order is now a purchase order. If I click through to that, I go to the purchase order. It's pending approval. I need to approve it now. And if I went to my purchasing or whoever, CFO, whoever gets to approve these things, and whatever the DFA is, they'll just be sitting on their alerts saying, you have one item to approve. When that comes into stock, they'll see immediately, oh, we'll put one into stock, but it's actually linked to the sales order. So maybe we won't put this away. Let's just cross-dock it and send it straight out to Hanson's, doing the same process that I did before. If I go to my related records, I can see I've got one item fulfillment that's packed, a purchase order that's waiting supervisory approval. So if there's a big of a complaint or you want to know what's happening with this order, you can go to the related records and see everything that's happening with them. If I finish off the pick, pack, and ship, I can then invoice that one computer out. The next one goes out when it finally turns up a week later, if it's air freighted in, and that gets invoiced out. That will all start building up in the related records of that sales order. Again, no paper flying about the place, no emails even. Someone's decided this is what to do, and down in the warehouse, they've just been visualized this information and made it happen. So what am I going to do with the rest of these? Well, I'm going to do what's called a suggested order items report, because none of them are in stock. And I'm going to go along here, and NetSuite's telling me, oh, you've got a problem. You've got all these items in Geraldine and Auckland that there's an order for. You've got a reorder point of these. You've got, you say, this many available or zero available, yet you have a sales order with items on. I suggest you buy 500 of these or 335 of these. And literally, by ticking these boxes, we've already put in the vendor, and of course we can change the vendor, the preferred vendor. Submit that. That's going to create purchase orders. And if you wish to, if there's no approval process, email out the purchase order to your vendors. If there's a PO approval process, of course, it'll go to the reminders for somebody to approve. And that's the fastest way to get those items in. Right, so that's 10 o'clock, and that's all I really wanted to show you today was just how everything can be built around a sales order and how everything links together and how everything is visualized.
We hope this video gave you the information you were after. If you have any further questions, get in touch with us using the links in the description.